Ukraine turns Crimea into air defense graveyard, inflicting $100 million losses on Russia. Today, Ukraine's campaign over the annexed Crimean peninsula entered a new operational phase, one defined not by isolated explosions, but by a deliberate effort to dismantle Russia's military backbone piece by piece. Ukrainian defense forces are striking air defense systems, radar stations, fuel depots, military equipment storage sites, and energy infrastructure, inflicting losses now estimated at around $100 million. These actions are not symbolic. They are calculated steps meant to open the skies, constrain Russian operations, and reshape the balance of power in southern Ukraine. This is not a single strike story, but a sequence of interconnected moves. To understand how Crimea became one of Russia's most costly vulnerabilities, we must begin from the first systematic actions of the day. At 6:40 a.m., Ukrainian defense forces were already active across multiple sectors of the Crimean peninsula. According to Ukrainian military experts interviewed by Crimea, the geography of Crimea heavily shapes how this campaign unfolds. The peninsula's narrow landmass, surrounded by sea on three sides, limits where Russian air defense and radar systems can be deployed. Large systems cannot be hidden easily or relocated freely. To cover airspace, coastlines, and military infrastructure, Russian forces must place radars and launchers in fixed, well-known locations. Over time, this has turned predictability into a liability. Since August, the main intelligence directorate of Ukraine's Ministry of Defense has increased the density and frequency of strikes against Russian radar and air defense sites in Crimea. Each successful hit removes another layer of Russian situational awareness. Military experts emphasize that this phase is foundational. Weakening air defenses is the first and most important step in a broader strategic plan. Without this step, deeper strikes against high-value targets would carry unacceptable risk. Pavlo Lakichuk, a military expert and head of security projects at the Strategy 21 Center of Global Studies, explains that every strike fits into a single operational design. Different weapons are used at different times, but they are all part of one plan. The objective is not simply to destroy equipment, but to make future strikes more frequent, more accurate, and more damaging. Lakichuk notes that before Ukrainian forces can employ systems such as Flamingo strike drones, Neptune anti-ship missiles, long-range attack drones, or naval drones against critical facilities, several preparatory stages must be completed. At 7:15 a.m., Ukrainian planners focused first on degrading surveillance. This means targeting coastal monitoring systems, airspace surveillance radars, and communication links that feed data to missile batteries. When an air defense system near Yevpatoria is struck, it is not an isolated act. It signals preparation for a follow-on air operation. The logic is sequential. First, Ukrainian forces blind the enemy. Then they reduce reaction time. Only after that do they strike high-value targets. This layered approach ensures that each subsequent attack faces less resistance than the one before it. American military analysts have highlighted the same logic. Retired US Army Colonel John Nagel has stressed that Crimea remains strategically crucial. In his assessment, Crimea is clearly among the territories Ukraine seeks to liberate. However, liberation is not possible without creating the right battlefield conditions. Those conditions are now being shaped through the systematic destruction of Russian air defense systems that would otherwise block Ukrainian strikes using Flamingo drones or Neptune missiles. By 8:05 a.m., attention turned to the structure of Russia's air defense deployment in Crimea. Military expert Alexander Kovalenko explains that Russian air defense assets are positioned in clearly defined locations that cannot be altered easily. The Russian military cannot move these systems freely because they must cover specific sectors of airspace and coastline. This rigidity allows Ukrainian forces to plan strikes with precision. Kovalenko notes that Ukrainian strikes against these positions are carried out systematically. The goal is not a single knockout blow, but exhaustion. Each destroyed radar or launcher forces Russia to replace it. Over time, this drains resources, manpower, and logistical capacity. To compensate for losses in Crimea, Russia has begun removing air defense assets from other regions and transporting them south. This creates vulnerabilities elsewhere, while failing to solve the underlying problem. Crimea demands constant coverage, and every gap must be filled quickly. At 9:10 a.m., Kovalenko described Crimea as a strategic trap, symbolically referring to it as a Great Chernobka. The comparison reflects a pattern seen earlier in the war, where Russian equipment was repeatedly destroyed in the same area because it had nowhere else to go. In his analysis, Russia now has two locations with the densest layered air defense systems: Moscow and the Moscow region, and the temporarily occupied Crimean Peninsula. Every time a radar system or launcher is destroyed in Crimea, Russian command must urgently address the shortage. They send replacement units, often from other regions. These systems are redeployed into the same known positions because geography leaves no alternatives. Cape Tarkhankut is a clear example. The radiotechnical regiment stationed there cannot relocate to another area without losing coverage. It was there before, it remains there now, and Ukrainian forces know it. Russia has no practical way to change this cycle. Each replacement sets the stage for another strike. One of the most significant losses in this campaign has been the destruction of a Nebo U radar system. Experts estimate the cost of a single Nebo U unit at around $100 million, making it one of the most expensive non-strategic radar systems in Russia's inventory. These systems are complex, relying on advanced manufacturing processes and high-tech components. Russia has only a limited number of them. At 10:25 a.m., analysts explained why the Nebo U is so critical. Its primary function is to detect and track aerial targets at altitudes exceeding 10 kilometers. It can monitor a wide area, including airspace deep inside Ukraine. When Ukrainian forces launch long-range cruise missiles such as Storm Shadow or Scalp EG toward Crimea, the Nebo U provides early detection and tracking. This data is essential for systems like the S-400, S-300, and elements of the S-500 network. These missile batteries depend on accurate radar information to engage targets effectively. Without the Nebo U, the entire air defense network becomes fragmented. Kovalenko emphasizes that regardless of Russian claims about the uniqueness of their systems, they cannot function properly without reliable tracking. When the Nebo U is destroyed, missile launchers may still exist, but their effectiveness drops sharply. They struggle to intercept high-altitude or long-range targets. This creates windows of opportunity for Ukrainian strikes, windows that grow wider with each radar loss. By 11:40 a.m., experts were assessing the broader operational consequences. Sustained strikes against Crimean infrastructure are depleting the resources of Russia's Dnipro forces group, which operates in the Kherson and Zaporizhzhia regions. Crimea serves as a critical logistics hub for these forces, particularly for fuel. Fuel depots and energy facilities on the peninsula support armored units, artillery, and transport convoys fighting north of Crimea. When these facilities are damaged or destroyed, the effects ripple outward. Without sufficient fuel, Russian units face limits on movement, resupply, and sustained offensive operations. Military analysts note that fuel shortages constrain planning. Armored vehicles cannot maneuver freely. Artillery units struggle to reposition. Logistics convoys slow or halt. This reduces Russia's operational tempo and forces commanders into a defensive posture. At 1:05 p.m., the psychological dimension of the campaign was also evident. Russian air defense crews operate under constant pressure. Their positions are known. Replacement systems arrive with the expectation that they may soon be destroyed. Over time, this erodes morale and complicates command decisions, especially as resources grow scarcer. The campaign also demonstrates Ukraine's growing ability to integrate intelligence, drones, missiles, and timing into a cohesive operational plan. By dismantling surveillance and air defense layers first, Ukrainian forces reduce risk to their own assets, while maximizing damage to Russian systems. As the afternoon progressed, analysts emphasized that this is not a short-term effort. It is a sustained campaign designed to change conditions over months, not days. Each destroyed radar, each damaged fuel depot, and each disabled air defense launcher brings Ukraine closer to operational dominance over Crimea. By 4:30 p.m., estimates suggested that cumulative losses from destroyed radar systems, air defense assets, fuel infrastructure, and supporting facilities now total approximately $100 million. This figure reflects both the direct cost of equipment and the indirect impact on Russian operational capability. As evening approaches, the strategic picture remains consistent. Ukraine is gaining control incrementally. Russia is losing irreplaceable systems and being forced into reactive, costly measures. Crimea, once presented as an impenetrable fortress, is increasingly exposed. In conclusion, Ukraine's methodical campaign against Russian military targets in Crimea has transformed the peninsula into a drain on Russian resources. With losses estimated at around $100 million, the impact goes far beyond numbers. Air defenses are weakened, logistics are strained, and operational flexibility is reduced. The question now facing observers is whether Russia can break this cycle of replacement and destruction, or whether Crimea will continue to consume resources as Ukraine expands control over contested airspace. Thanks for watching, and subscribe for more updates.